Elon Musk had just wrapped a groundbreaking keynote at Tesla's Innovation Summit, where he unveiled the company's latest advances in AI-powered vehicles. Engineers, investors, and fans packed the auditorium, buzzing with admiration for the billionaire's vision. Every announcement sparked applause. Every slide lit up imaginations. But no one was prepared for what would happen when the Q&A session began. Not even Elon. "Let's take some questions," he said casually, stepping back from the podium. A sea of hands shot up, eager to be seen. But Elon's eyes locked on someone different, someone who didn't fit the typical Silicon Valley mold. A young black girl, no older than 19, stood at the very back. No suit, no branded hoodie, just determination in her eyes and a battered notebook clutched in her hand. Her name was Amara, and what she said next would stop the entire room. "Mr. Musk," she said with calm boldness, "I'm from a small town. I built a robot in my garage using scrap parts. I don't have a degree or formal training, but I want to work at Tesla. Will you give me a job?" A hush fell across the room. Some people chuckled under their breath. Others whispered to their neighbors. No one had ever asked Elon Musk for a job like that, certainly not in front of cameras and executives. It felt impossible. Elon raised an eyebrow, tilted his head slightly. "A robot, huh? What does it do?" Amara took a breath. "It can pick up objects and follow simple commands. But I know I can make it better if I have the right resources." The air tightened. People leaned in, wondering how Elon would respond. Would he laugh it off? Politely dismiss her? But Elon Musk didn't laugh. He leaned forward, voice steady, eyes locked on hers. "You said you built it in your garage?" She nodded. "All right," he said. "Here's the deal. If you can improve your robot to solve a real-world problem, something impressive, I'll consider giving you a job." Gasps, whispers, shocked glances. Elon Musk had just issued a challenge to a teenager. And Amara? She didn't flinch. "Challenge accepted, Mr. Musk." Now, here's what this story is really about. It's not just a tech demo. It's about a girl who had no connections, no degree, and no money, but who had raw drive and dared to speak up. She had just 30 days to beat the odds. But what no one knew was how far she'd go, or how this challenge would change everything, for her, for her town, and maybe even for the world. Before we dive deeper, help us reach 1,000 subscribers so we can keep telling powerful, real-life stories like this one. If you're inspired by underdog grit and real innovation, hit subscribe and support our work. Amara returned home that evening with her heart pounding and her mind racing. Her tiny town felt even smaller now. Everyone knew her as the girl who tinkers with junk. No one had ever imagined she'd be noticed by someone like Elon Musk, least of all herself. Her house was modest, tucked in a quiet corner of the neighborhood. Inside the garage, however, was her world, a chaotic but sacred space filled with wires, broken circuit boards, and half-functioning gadgets. Old motors from discarded fans, sensors pulled from thrift store electronics, batteries rescued from recycling bins. And in the middle of it all, her robot. It was ugly, clunky, but worked. Barely. It could lift objects and obey simple voice commands. But that wouldn't be enough. Not for Elon. Not for this challenge. Amara stared at it under the yellow glow of a desk lamp. "How do I turn this into something real?" she whispered. She came from a family that scraped by. Her mother worked double shifts as a nurse. Her father drove a cab for long hours. They loved her, supported her, but there was no spare money for tools or tech classes. Everything Amara had learned, she taught herself. YouTube tutorials, online forums, free PDFs, late nights spent figuring out why the code wouldn't compile. Still, the people around her didn't see a future in machines. They told her to get a real job. Stop wasting time with wires and gears. Her friends tried to be supportive, but even they rolled their eyes when she spoke about robotics. One even said, "Be real, Amara. You think Elon Musk's actually going to hire you?" But now she had 30 days. 30 days to build something that could solve a real-world problem. Something Elon Musk would look at and say, "That's impressive." And she didn't have a clue where to begin. So she went for a walk. It was late. The streets were mostly empty. She passed the worn-out park where neighborhood kids played, the corner store with flickering lights, and finally, the alley behind the community center, where trash bins overflowed with garbage, cardboard, soda cans, food waste. A rat darted across her path. And that's when it hit her. Waste. Her town had no working system for separating recyclables. People dumped everything together. Plastic bottles, food wrappers, used takeout containers, all in one bin. The sanitation workers had no time or tools to separate it. Trash piled up. Streets reeked. Kids got sick. What if a robot could fix that? She rushed home, pulled out a notebook, and started sketching a robotic arm with claws. A conveyor belt made from an old treadmill. Sensors to detect plastic, metal, and organic waste. It wasn't going to be sleek, but it could work. She had found her mission, build a robot that could sort trash. Not just to impress Elon Musk, but to help her own community. The next morning, she hit the junkyard, searching for motors, parts, anything she could afford, or better yet, salvage. Most days, she came home with a bag of tangled wires and dented metal. Some nights, she came back with nothing but mosquito bites. But every night, she kept building. And soon, people began to notice. Want to help us grow this community? Drop a comment below and let us know what city or country you're watching from. It's incredible to see how far these stories can reach. Back in her garage, Amara ran test after test. Her robot would pick up a bottle, then drop it. It would identify plastic, then freeze mid-scan. She'd groan, tear out lines of code, and start over. More than once, she thought about giving up. But Elon's voice echoed in her head. Show me something impressive. And so, night after night, she soldered wires with trembling hands, adjusted gears with a flashlight clenched in her teeth, and rewrote algorithms until her eyes blurred from the screen. Still, time was slipping away, and she was nowhere near ready. That's when a knock echoed on her garage door. An older man stood there with kind eyes and grease-stained hands. I'm Harris. Used to be an engineer before retirement, he said. Heard you've got something special going on in here. Amara hesitated, but then stepped aside and let him in. And what started as a conversation turned into something else entirely. A partnership. Together, they would try to defy the odds. Harris moved slowly, with the kind of careful precision that only comes from years of hands-on experience. He examined Amara's setup like a doctor checking vital signs. Her cluttered garage, chaotic to most, made perfect sense to him. He didn't mock her tools or her messy notes scribbled on the walls. He nodded approvingly, then pointed at the robot's wiring. You're using a stepper motor from an old printer here, right? Amara's eyes lit up. Yeah, how did you know? He chuckled. I've taken apart more printers than I can count. You've got good instincts, but this connection right here, it's limiting your torque. Let me show you something. What followed was a crash course in real engineering. Harris helped her optimize the motors, improve sensor calibration, and, most importantly, organize her process. For the first time, Amara wasn't just working with passion. She was working with direction. With his guidance, things began to change. Her robot, once shaky and unreliable, started functioning more smoothly. It could now detect the shape and material of objects with decent accuracy. It learned to separate plastic bottles from greasy pizza boxes and even distinguish between food scraps and paper waste. Amara was evolving, not just as a builder, but as a visionary. But even with Harris's help, the road wasn't smooth. Her laptop crashed twice, wiping hours of code. A storm one night knocked out power and nearly fried her components. She cried in frustration when a new arm joint snapped under pressure. The deadline loomed closer and closer, and doubt kept whispering in her ear. Still, she worked. She adapted. She refused to stop. Word began spreading through the neighborhood. At first, people mocked her. Still building that trash robot, someone sneered at the grocery store. A friend from school messaged her, "You're wasting your time. Just apply at the diner like the rest of us." But Harris told her something that stuck. They'll laugh until they clap. And then, one evening, as she was troubleshooting a misfiring sensor, she heard her name called from outside the garage. A group of neighborhood kids stood at the door, curious. "Miss Amara, can we see the robot?" She hesitated, then smiled. "Yeah, come in." She gave him a small demo. The kids gasped when the robot picked up a soda, can and dropped it in the right bin. Their cheers filled the room. And in that moment, Amara realized something. She wasn't just building a machine. She was building hope. As the days narrowed to a final week, Amara transformed into someone else entirely. Her back straightened. Her eyes stayed locked on the mission. She was exhausted, but alive with purpose. Her robot was now able to sort waste into 3 categories: recyclable, non-recyclable, and organic. It was far from perfect, but it worked. That night, after a successful test run, Amara sat in silence, staring at the blinking lights on her creation. She whispered, "You're ready. I just hope. I am too." Let me pause here and say, if stories like Amara's inspire you, if you believe in grit, passion, and second chances, consider subscribing. It helps us tell more stories about people who rise from nothing and remind the world what's possible. 2 days before the Tesla event, Amara started rehearsing. Not just what to say, but how to say it. She practiced in front of her parents, who pretended to be an audience. She repeated her script so many times her voice went hoarse. Every night, she would stand in her garage, practicing under the fluorescent lights, visualizing the moment Elon Musk would watch her. Her mother beamed with pride. "No matter what happens," she said, holding Amara's hand, "you've already won." But doubt didn't care. It whispered louder than ever. What if the robot fails? What if Elon doesn't even remember you? On the morning of the event, Amara packed the robot carefully in a box layered with blankets. She wore her best clothes, a simple white shirt, black pants, hair tied back. It wasn't about looking flashy. It was about showing up prepared. As she stepped outside, she found her neighbors gathered around, some watching in silence, others murmuring among themselves. "Let's see if this Elon guy even gives her the time of day." Amara didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her walk to the bus stop was the quietest and strongest protest she could make. Arriving at the Tesla campus felt like stepping into another universe. Everything gleamed. People moved fast, spoke in buzzwords. Engineers in blazers. Media reps in suits. Cameras on tripods. Everyone looked polished. Everyone looked like they belonged. Except her. But Amara kept her head high. She didn't need to belong. She needed to show. She sat backstage, gripping the box in her lap. Her heart pounded with every name called before hers. She recited her lines over and over. She checked every screw on the robot for the 10th time. Her palms were sweaty, but her eyes stayed focused. And then her name echoed across the loudspeaker. Next up, Amara from Georgia. She stood, took a deep breath, and walked into the light. The stage was bright, the room full of people. Elon Musk sat in the front row, hands folded, watching silently. Amara placed her robot on the demonstration table. She turned to the audience. Her voice wavered, but she didn't let it break. 3 weeks ago, I stood in this room and asked Mr. Musk for a job. I didn't have a degree or fancy equipment, just a robot built in a garage. He gave me 30 days to improve it and solve a real-world problem. She paused. Today, I'm here to show you what I've built. She pressed the button, and the robot came to life. As it scanned a pile of assorted trash, plastic, paper, banana peels, it began to sort with quiet precision. One by one, items went into the correct bins. The audience leaned in. Phones came out. Reporters took notes. And then it froze. A loud click, then silence. The robot stood still, stuck mid-task. The room turned tense. Gasps, whispers. A few eyes rolled. Elon Musk remained silent, watching. Amara's heart dropped. Not now. Please, not now. She rushed to the table, opened the casing. Her fingers trembled. The motor was overheating. She looked up and saw Elon walking toward her. Was he going to shut it down? Instead, he reached over, picked up a tool, and handed it to her. "Fix it," he said calmly. And the world watched. Amara's breath caught in her throat as she took the tool from Elon Musk's hand. Her fingers were slick with sweat, but she didn't hesitate. This moment, this exact moment, was everything she had worked for. Not perfection, not applause, but the chance to prove that when something breaks, she knows how to fix it. She crouched beside her robot, unscrewed the panel with fast but careful movements, and exposed the overheated motor. The smell of burning plastic stung her nose. She reached into her bag and pulled out the spare motor she had packed, just in case. A backup she had almost left behind that morning. The crowd was silent. Even the cameras stopped clicking. Every eye was on her. She swapped the motor, rewired the connection, calibrated the code. It took 10 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. Finally, she stood up, wiped her hands on her pants, and pressed the start button. The robot hummed back to life. This time, it moved faster, smoother. The arms scanned and sorted plastic bottles, greasy paper, and food waste into their proper bins. Recyclable, non-recyclable, and organic. The clunky, homemade robot, patched together with scrap and determination, completed the task without error. And when it dropped the final item into place, the room erupted. Applause thundered. Cameras flashed. People stood. Amara blinked, almost in disbelief. Then a slow smile crept across her face. Elon Musk clapped from the edge of the stage, then walked up beside her. That, he said to the audience, is what I like to see. Someone who doesn't give up when things go wrong. He turned to her, and his voice softened. You didn't just fix the robot. You proved that innovation doesn't need a fancy lab or a PhD. It needs persistence and heart. Then, turning back to the crowd, he added, Amara has earned her place at Tesla. The applause grew louder. Amara's eyes filled with tears. This wasn't just about a job anymore. This was a statement to every kid like her, every outsider, every garage builder, every dreamer, that it was possible. And yet, even as she soaked in that victory, something deeper stirred within her. This robot, this idea, it wasn't finished. Not even close. Later, after the stage lights dimmed and the cameras turned away, Elon pulled her aside. You've got something special, Amara, he said. This robot, it could change the way communities handle waste. I want to help you develop it. Make it scalable, affordable, practical for cities. She looked at him, speechless. Not just a job, he clarified. A partnership. That night, as she rode the train home with the robot box on her lap, Amara stared out the window, the city lights blurring past. She wasn't going back to her old life. She was going forward into something bigger. And yet, even in her moment of triumph, Amara didn't forget where she came from. The next morning, she stood once again in her garage. Same tools, same wires, same smell of solder in the air. But now, her hands moved with a new sense of purpose. Because Amara had decided she wasn't just going to build for Tesla. She was going to build for her community. Before we continue, if you believe in the power of second chances, and if Amara's journey moved you even a little, we'd love to have you as part of our growing community. Hit that subscribe button and help us bring more real, inspiring stories like this to life. Over the next few weeks, Amara's story spread like wildfire. News stations ran headlines like Teenage Girl Builds Trash Sorting Robot, Impresses Elon Musk, and Garage Engineer Gets Job at Tesla After Bold Public Challenge. Interviews flooded in. Podcasts, school visits. STEM nonprofits wanted her as a speaker. Parents brought their daughters to meet her, whispering, "Look, that could be you." But Amara never let the spotlight distract her from her purpose. She partnered with Elon and Tesla's engineers to refine her robot. With their help, the next prototype became faster, lighter, and smarter. It used machine learning to recognize different materials and adapt in real time. It could be powered with a solar panel, making it useful in developing regions. The goal? A low-cost, open-source trash sorting robot that could be deployed in underserved communities around the world. She called it Project Renew. Still, she kept her roots close. Every weekend, she returned home. Her garage stayed open to neighborhood kids. She started free workshops, teaching basic robotics, coding, and recycling awareness. One afternoon, a young girl named Tasha, just 10 years old, stood beside her, nervously holding a screwdriver. "I want to build something too," Tasha said. Amara smiled. "Then let's start." And just like that, the spark passed on. But not everyone celebrated her success. Online trolls began accusing her of being a PR stunt. Comment sections filled with doubt. There's no way she did that without help. Elon only chose her for attention. Amara saw the posts. They stung but didn't stop her. She addressed them once, in a live stream watched by thousands. I didn't have elite training. I didn't have connections. But I had effort. I had time. I had a garage. And I didn't stop. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. And just like that, she silenced the noise. She wasn't here to argue. She was here to build. Months passed. Project Renew wasn't just an idea anymore. It was a reality. Tesla helped Amara patent her design, but she insisted on keeping the core technology open source. This belongs to the people who need it, she said in a boardroom full of executives. Not just corporations. She worked with cities and local governments to pilot the robot in high-need areas. The first trial happened in her hometown, right where it all began. Her robot, once patched together from junkyard scraps, now operated on city streets, sorting waste with precision and freeing sanitation workers from backbreaking labor. But Amara's mission went far beyond trash. Every school she visited, every community center she stepped into, her message remained the same. Talent lives everywhere, but opportunity doesn't. She was determined to change that. She launched a nonprofit called Garage to Genius, providing microgrants, tools, and mentorship to young inventors from underfunded areas. The workshops exploded in popularity. Kids who had never touched a laptop before were now writing basic code, wiring their first circuits, dreaming out loud in ways they never had the space or support to do. At one event, a boy named Malek asked her, "Miss Amara, were you scared to talk to Elon Musk?" She laughed, terrified. "So why'd you do it?" She paused. "Because I was more scared of staying silent." That answer stuck with Malek and hundreds of others. But even with all the praise, the awards, the cover stories, Amara stayed grounded. She still fixed broken fan blades in her garage. She still walked the same streets that first inspired her. And she still faced pushback, not from strangers this time, but from within. Some of Tesla's senior engineers questioned her methods. "This design is too simple," one muttered in a meeting. "It'll never scale for cities like New York or Chicago." Another added, "It's too grassroots. We need more data, more control." But Amara pushed back. "We don't need complexity. We need accessibility. If a 14-year-old in a village can't fix it with a screwdriver and duct tape, it's not a sustainable solution." That earned her a few rolled eyes, but also a quiet nod from Elon Musk. Later, in private, he told her, "Don't let anyone corporate this thing to death. You were right from the beginning." Still, the pressure wore on her. One night, alone in her new apartment overlooking the city skyline, Amara sat cross-legged on the floor, her laptop glowing in the dark. The newest prototype had failed a major urban trial. Sorting accuracy had dropped, and city officials were pulling back support. Media buzz had cooled. The board wanted redirection. For the first time in months, Amara felt the old feeling creeping back in. Maybe I'm not ready for this. She opened a notebook and stared at the page. Blank. Then she flipped back to an older page. The original sketch of her first robot. Scribbled in pencil. Circles and lines. Notes in the margin like use blender motor and ask mom for old phone battery. And beside that, a quote she had written in shaky handwriting months ago. "Don't wait to be chosen. Choose yourself." She closed the notebook and got back to work. By morning, she had revised the design, streamlined the software, and submitted a new proposal. One that prioritized modular simplicity and local repair systems over flashy performance. Within weeks, smaller cities began adopting the model again. This time, success spread through word of mouth, not media hype. But the biggest moment was still to come. Elon Musk invited Amara to join him on stage again, this time not as a questioner, but as a keynote speaker. It was Tesla's next global summit, and she'd be opening the event with a full demonstration of Project Renew's evolution. The world would be watching again. Before we continue, if Amara's story has inspired you so far, make sure you're subscribed. You never know how far a story like this can travel. Every new subscriber helps us keep building a platform for stories that matter. The day of the summit arrived. The same stage. The same bright lights. But this time, Amara wasn't nervous. She stood tall, shoulders back, heart steady. 2 years ago, she began, I stood on this stage and asked for a job. Today, I'm not here asking for anything. I'm here to share something. She clicked the remote. A short video played behind her, footage of Project Renew in action across different communities. A schoolyard in Detroit, a coastal village in Ghana, a refugee camp in Lebanon, all using the same simple, durable robot to keep their environments clean and educate the next generation. The crowd watched wide-eyed, and then Amara spoke again. This robot was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be useful. I didn't want to build something expensive. I wanted to build something possible. The audience stood in applause. Even veteran engineers wiped their eyes. Elon joined her on stage and said, Amara didn't just change the way we think about technology. She reminded us why we build in the first place. And this time, there were no doubters, only believers. After the summit, Amara's life shifted again, but this time, it wasn't into fame or fortune. It was into purpose. She didn't care about luxury. She didn't ask for stock options. What she asked for was support to take Project Renew global in the way that mattered most: education and accessibility. With Elon's help, she launched Renew Labs, a global initiative built around two core goals: distribute low-cost robots to waste-challenged communities, train local youth to repair, reprogram, and even redesign those robots on their own. The idea wasn't to give away tech, it was to plant seeds. Amara traveled to South America, to remote parts of Southeast Asia, and deep into underserved neighborhoods in the U.S. In each place, she met young people who reminded her of herself. Eyes full of fire, but hands empty of opportunity. One afternoon, while visiting a school in Nairobi, a boy named Elijah approached her after a workshop. He held out a bundle of wires and cardboard, shaped like a claw. I built this, he said shyly. It doesn't work yet, but I think I'm close. Amara knelt down and smiled. Elijah, I think you're more than close. I think you're onto something. Moments like that fueled her more than any award ever could. Back home, her garage, now upgraded but still the heart of her work, remained a living museum of persistence. She kept her first robot in the corner, dusty and dented, but still functional. Every once in a while, she'd power it up just to remind herself how far she'd come. But even as Renew Labs grew, Amara faced criticism from unexpected places. Some investors wanted to monetize the project, build a commercial version for smart cities, slap a high price tag on it. There's a market here, they said. Why give it away when people will pay? Amara listened. She took their data, their spreadsheets, their pitch decks, and then politely declined. This was never about markets, she said in one meeting. This is about movement. She knew the world didn't need another overpriced gadget. It needed a new way of thinking. Still, the pushback continued. At one point, a prominent executive accused her of being too idealistic. He said, "You're not a visionary. You're lucky. Don't let it get to your head." Amara smiled and replied, "If luck got me here, I guess I better keep working hard enough to deserve it." The story hit social media, and instead of hurting her reputation, it only elevated her further. Young inventors rallied behind her. Thousands used the hashtag #RajToGenius to share their own creations: solar water filters, prosthetic limbs made from scrap, hand-built drones delivering medicine to rural areas. Amara had unknowingly sparked a quiet revolution. One evening, back in her neighborhood, she walked past a group of kids in the park. They didn't call her Trash Robot Girl anymore. They called her Miss A. Some of them even wore homemade shirts with the Project Renew logo on them. A girl no older than 9 tugged on Amara's sleeve. "I want to be like you," she said. Amara knelt and looked her in the eyes. "No," she said softly. "Be better than me. Let's take a moment. If this story has moved you, if it's reminded you of someone you know, or the dreams you once had, now's the perfect time to share it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you with us." These are the stories that don't make headlines, but they change lives. Years passed. Renew Labs had now trained over 100,000 students. The robot design had been translated into 14 languages. Amara was invited to speak at the UN, at global climate summits, at universities where once she might have been rejected for lack of credentials. And yet, she never let go of her roots. She still rode the bus sometimes. Still brought pizza to neighborhood kids who showed up for coding class. Still refused to hire a PR team, saying, "If my work needs a slogan, it's not working." And perhaps most powerfully, she kept showing up to places where no one expected innovation to be born. Rural schools, community centers, teen shelters. She told them, "You don't need permission to begin. You just need to begin." One day, Elon called her, not for business, but to say thank you. "You've taken an idea and turned it into a movement," he told her. "You didn't just solve a problem. You taught the world how to think differently." Amara smiled. "Thanks for giving me 30 days, she said. Elon paused. "No," he replied. "Thanks for showing me what 30 days can do." But even then, Amara felt there was one thing left to do. It happened on a quiet morning. Amara sat alone in her garage, the place where it all began. The hum of her old fan filled the silence. On the table beside her was the very first notebook she used, the same one she held the day she stood up and spoke to Elon Musk in front of the world. She flipped to the last blank page. At the top, she wrote just one word: legacy. Because now, more than ever, she understood what this had all been about. Not fame, not recognition, not even the robot. It had always been about what came after her. Amara began writing plans for a new initiative, one that would live beyond her own time, beyond Tesla, beyond Project Renew. A program that would embed renewable tech and invention labs directly into schools, especially in low-income areas. A permanent presence, not dependent on donors or speeches or headlines. She named it the Spark Project. Her mission? Simple. Every child in every town should be able to build something that could change their world. The announcement shook the tech world again. But this time, Amara didn't speak on stage. She filmed the reveal from her garage. No spotlight, no studio, just her, sitting at her old workbench, looking into the camera. "I started here," she said, "with nothing but broken parts and a dream. If you're watching this and you've ever been told you're not enough, not smart enough, not rich enough, not right enough, I'm here to tell you, that voice is a liar. You're more than enough, and your ideas matter." That video went viral in less than 24 hours, and the comments poured in, not from CEOs or journalists, from kids, parents, teachers, people who had never written a line of code but now wanted to try, people who had never picked up a screwdriver but suddenly felt like maybe they could fix something. And that's when it became clear. The revolution wasn't robots. It was belief. Amara's journey had started with a single question in a crowded room. "Will you give me a job?" But what she really asked, what she challenged the world to answer, was something deeper. "Will you believe in me, even if I don't fit the mold? Will you open the door, even if I knock from the outside? Will you dare to give someone different a chance?" And when the world answered yes, she didn't just walk through that door. She held it open for everyone behind her. Lessons learned from Amara's story. You don't need a perfect background to do meaningful work. Innovation isn't about tools. It's about perspective. The most powerful words are sometimes the simplest. "I believe in you." Failure isn't the end. It's the edit. When opportunity doesn't come, create your own. If this story inspired you, if you felt a spark anywhere inside you while listening, this is your sign. Whatever you've been dreaming of, start it. It won't be perfect. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. So take that first step. Build your idea. Start your project. Open your notebook. And when you do, tell someone else they can too. We're building a community of dreamers, tinkerers, underdogs, and quiet rebels. If you want to be part of that, click subscribe and help us reach even more people who need to hear these stories. And if you're ready for your next dose of motivation, click the video on your screen now. We'll see you there. Keep building, keep believing, and remember, the garage is just the beginning.